which led us to the I guess the number one fight of the evening, the quite literally one of the best fights that I've seen all year, I think, and there's been a ton of great fights throughout this year. But Brian Ortega beating the Korean Zombie by unanimous decision. Just watching this fight, watching Brian Ortega come back from his 2 years off and being able to just have an answer for absolutely everything that the Korean Zombie was doing. I think there's something that definitely needs to be said for his ability to basically, he did train for this, but to walk off the street and not being touched in a competitive manner in over 2 years, all the props to him. I'm glad he was able to come back. I'm glad he was able to do this and really, show that he is somebody that needs to be taken seriously now.
Oh, for sure. And Brian has been somebody who's been taken seriously, but he had some mix-ups. He had to change camps, and then he got back to work. And this was great opportunity because as somebody who's still ranked in the top 5 after a 2-year sabbatical, this is a great matchup. Korean Zombie has been tearing it up in the featherweight division. I think in his win streak, he's had 2 knockouts in less than a minute. This guy has been absolutely killing it, and this was going to decide who faces Volkanovski next. And Ortega showed that his change of camp really helped him improve on his game. And as great as Korean Zombie is, he looked lost in this fight. He just got taken advantage of. His game plan got exposed right away, and Brian Ortega just started teeing off. And I don't know how Korean Zombie stayed in this because he was getting hit with some bombs in this fight, and he was stumbling left and right. I'm surprised the ref didn't step in at some point, but I'm glad he didn't because it resulted in a great fight all around. And, these guys, I hope they match up again in the future because it was a really fun fight to see.
Yeah, for sure. I was really happy about this fight. And now, obviously, Brian Ortega coming back from his sabbatical. His second fight is now facing Alexander Volkanovski for the featherweight title. So he's got, he faces Korean Zombie, and then he's got Volkanovski right after. I mean, you can't ask for much more of a welcoming party back into the UFC. But one thing that really stood out to me, and I mentioned it briefly already, but his ability to answer everything that Korean Zombie was doing. And one moment in my brain stands out specifically. Korean Zombie tried to strike him, and he turns around and gives a spinning back elbow right to the head of Korean Zombie. And that, to me, I was like, oh my God, this man, he is anticipating every single thing that Korean Zombie is doing. And I don't know necessarily if he was just that readable as a fighter, Korean Zombie was, or if it was just that Brian Ortega, his ability to just change and adapt on the fly allowed him to make such impressive moves. But either way, I have to take my hat off for him because what I was able to see and what he was able to do really, really impressed me. And for somebody who didn't know much about him going into the weekend, I was thoroughly impressed and really excited for what I'm about to see in the next 5 or 6 months whenever he gets that title shot.
Yeah, I think one thing with Brian, he's extremely smart, and when you're as a great fighter, you're going to look at Korean Zombie's tape and what he's done in the past and know his tendencies. Now, if you turn your back, he might want to crash in, so you're going to know, all right, my back's turned. I better if I throw this spinning back elbow, he's probably going to be right behind me and catch it. So that's just something you're going to learn by studying him and learning that. Or, sometimes you see fighters just throw it when their back is turned because they have a feeling that their opponent might be crashing in on them and trying to take their back. So it could just have been, by sheer luck, or it could have been, very tactical and game planned that way. But nonetheless, it worked out great. And that was one of the big shots that Korean Zombie took that rattled him on top of a bunch of other shots. But Ortega just manhandled him throughout this fight, and I believe he won every round. I don't think Korean Zombie took any of the rounds in that fight. So Brian Ortega, like you said, not many people, if they've just started tuning in, are going to know what this guy is about, but they're going to learn quickly because he is a true competitor and real competition against Volkanovski.